I felt bad I didn't get the list.
I told my
How you doing, man? Ready?
Okay.
Headache? It was yours.
Maybe snowed outside? I gotta call him to do those Jumbo Pecos.
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Jumbo Pecos, Texas. I don't know. We got a.
Oh, no.
We did that grocery store down in Roswell, 190 on Dollar Street. They got one down on
I'll be glad to assuming that chairman's back. If not, I'll hand it over. Yeah, he's had a hearing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Luckily, I got my concrete pour last month.
Job is a mess.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, what's it?
We may have a bill addressing
All I'm missing is Renee's picture, right?
Well, Lisa's changed a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa got a haircut. Lisa and three are home. Lisa, Renee, and Randy.
He likes this
Randy's
too
going
much.
to be here maybe about 4 days.
So I heard you in that meeting.
Yeah, actually, he didn't say he didn't want to be. What's that?
So no pressure, when Lisa's our turn, we always start on time.
All right, thank you all for joining us this morning. It is 9:32, and we will start the commission hearing. Commissioner Baker is going to be about 40 minutes late to the hearing, so I'll fill in until he gets here. So we'd like to start out with a motion, I guess a determination of quorum, so I guess a roll call.
Member Casey?
Here.
Member Decker? Here. Member Kaufman?
Here.
Member Wooten? Here. Chairman Europe?
Here.
Member Alvarado?
Here.
Member Edwards? Member Freakley? And Chairman Baker.
So we do have a quorum, all right? Does that work for a quorum? Okay, good. If I could ask, go ahead and ask for introductions. We'll start up here and then we'll hit the audience afterwards.
Sam Salcedo with Construction Industries.
Ken Wheaton representing John Clover. Ben Salvarado representing Labor.
Dale Decker representing the licensed and practicing architects.
Kevin, you're out representing mechanical contractors.
Joshua Granada from the Attorney General's Office. Luis Carrasco, Attorney General's Office.
Don Kaufman is representing subcontractors.
Pat Casey representing residential construction.
Pat McMurray, Director of CID MHD.
Kelly Hunt, Electrical Bureau Chief.
Martin Romero, General Construction Bureau Chief.
I'm J.T. Baca, Mechanical Plumbing Bureau Chief.
Brian Goodman, Citizen.
Andy Novy, CID Licensing Manager.
Amanda Roybal, Investigations.
Jack Millard, New Mexico Home Builders Association.
Arthur Murillo, CID MHD Compliance.
Jose Fuentes, I'm here with the Attorney General. I'm observing for this part. I'll introduce myself later. I'm the new prosecuting attorney for the Administrative Department.
Tamara Kirkendall, Chief Mechanical Inspector, CID.
Rick Cicero, Planning Premier Man.
Nina B. Hill Hollander, Electrical Inspector, Construction Industries.
Ron V. Hill, Central Region Chief Electrical Inspector.
Thank you very much all for joining us today. I would accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Decker, second by Commissioner Casey. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. I'd like to open up for public comment. If you could please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less, it would be appreciated.
I don't know if is there anybody else that's going to do public comment or just me? Okay, to Chairman Baker and committee members, in the spirit of transparency, it's important for the public to know that the director's reports are very important and include the number of complaints, including those at the AG's office. CIC has decided to remove the director's report from the minutes. This prevents the public from gaining easy access to that report and certainly is less transparent. You can find it at rld.state.nm/construction/industries_commissions_minutes.aspx. It's also important for the voice of the citizens to be part of a democratic process. Anything less than that can certainly appear dictatorial and as if decision makers have something to hide, stimulating interest in the media to understand the concealment. The public should know that CIC has also decided to prevent public comments from being heard in the public. They no longer include them in the minutes and refuse to provide them via an IPRA request. It should also be noted that at the video archive webcast of the CIC meetings, they have removed the approximate first half hour of the November 19th, 2014 CIC meeting so that the public has no online access to the public comments or the director's report. In essence, they have done a blackout so that the public won't know what is going on at CID or CIC by not disclosing the director's report or the public comment. Why and what are you hiding? The July 17, 2013 meeting is still not listed at the governor.state.nm.us/webcast.aspx, and the May 21st video is blank from 2014. An IPRA request was done on December 15, 2014, and RLD has not complied with or given a truthful response to that IPRA request. Why was it falsely documented that my shingle roof was replaced when in fact it was well known within CID that my roof was not replaced? Why did Fermin Arizona report that there were no code violations on my roof when the documents in my file indicate he knew?
I think you shouldn't be talking about facts of your case.
Okay.
If you could.
Okay, so, okay.
Thank you.
Why Mr. Baker is not here, but why, when you promised on camera to look into it and get back to me, you have not done that? Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I guess this just told me. Administrative hearings, also known as NCAs, are open to the public. Why is it CID refuses to provide when those meetings occur? These meetings are very informative for the public to understand what happens to contractors when CID sends complaints to the Attorney General. How should an IPRA request be written so that citizens can obtain information about the complaints that are reported in the director's report? I've tried to get those complaints through IPRA, several different IPRA requests, and I've not been able to get those complaints. There is a public meeting tomorrow on proposed NMAX. Note that the CIC meetings website has not announced that meeting. That is the location the last announcement for the proposed NMAX was made. A screenshot is included as part of my comments. Why has CIC not announced that meeting to the public on their meetings website, which can be found at rld.state.nm.us/construction/industries_commissions_meetings.aspx. And I've gotten inconsistent information on this too, so I'm asking that my comments be included in the minutes of this meeting. I just got a letter from RLD yesterday that said that Mr. Baker has told me that my comments will not be accepted for the minutes. So I need to find out if they're going to be accepted, I'm going to submit it. If they're not going to be accepted, I'm not going to submit it in writing. So my question is, will you accept these minutes to be incorporated into the, or my my comments to be incorporated into the minutes of this meeting.
I think Mr. Carrasco is going to have some comments at the end of your comments, if that was the end.
Yes,
It is,
thank you.
okay.
Thank you for letting me go over 2 minutes, I probably did, so thank you.
Luis, do you have?
Sure, I can address some of the concerns that Ms. Goodman has addressed, and we did, for the board's information, have a meeting with Ms. Goodman and Representative Dines, newly elected Representative Dines yesterday, and certain members of the Attorney General's staff. And as we explained to the representative and Ms. Goodman at that meeting, is the Open Meetings Act sets the requirements for what your minutes must contain, and that's essentially a summary of all of the actions that you've taken. There is no requirement that you incorporate public comment into that. It certainly might be something as a policy matter that the commission decides to do in the interest of transparency, but the Open Meetings Act does not require you to incorporate a public commentary by members of the public, nor does it require you to incorporate the director's report into your minutes. Neither of those are actions by the body. The minutes have to record what actions this body takes. The director's report is a report the director gives to you. Ms. Goodman's comments are comments that she gives to you. You're not taking any action on those. You're simply receiving information. So in the recent past, we have had some meetings, and the decision was to not include public commentary in the minutes, and that was the decision reached by Chairman Baker. I think there are a number of reasons, some of which I don't feel comfortable speaking to you because of the attorney-client privilege surrounding those. But there are a number of reasons why the decision to exclude those resulted in the decision not to incorporate both of those sorts of things, and I think they're good reasons. Again, the Open Meetings Act doesn't require that they be in the minutes, and you would be in compliance with the Open Meetings Act to adopt a version of the minutes that does not. All of that said, the decision is ultimately the commission's, and you could choose to incorporate one or both of those if you deem it advisable.
When would we? I mean, I know we have to follow the agenda and everything we do. So would we have to wait to address that until the next meeting?
No, approval of the minutes is on the agenda for today's meeting. So you have draft minutes before you now. It would be perfectly fine to move to amend those minutes to incorporate any previous statements that she or the director have submitted. Or going forward, next meeting you'll get draft minutes for today's meeting, and you could approve a version that does or does not include public comments and or the director's report.
But you've had some conversation with Chairman Baker
yes.
about this.
Okay. And regarding the disciplinary matters, the hearings. I don't disagree with Ms. Goodman. I think, they are open to the public. I think it would be a good idea if CID could come up with a way where they put that information online so that if a member of the public were interested in attending a disciplinary hearing that they could do. And I know we had one on Friday and Ms. Goodman was present at that hearing. So I have encouraged CID to work to see if there's some way we can post the schedule of disciplinary hearings up on the CID website or the CSC website. I think that may not be a bad idea. And as far as her concerns about tomorrow's rulemaking hearing, I will myself, when I go back, make sure that it's been properly noticed. I think there's some miscommunication. The notice of the rule hearing contains a specific website where you have to go to, and then there are hyperlinks for the proposed rules. I think there may be some miscommunication about that, and I think she might be going to a different website, different from the one that's actually in the notice. But I will go back and verify it, and if there are any problems with the noticing for tomorrow's rulemaking hearing, I will advise the presiding official, and he or she will make a decision about whether to proceed at that point, and we'll make sure to brief the commission on any deficiencies that may arise. But that's nothing that we cannot correct.
May I comment on that? He's correct. It is on another link, but it is not at the construction industries meetings link. You have to go to the RLD/construction, but there's a specific web page for the Construction Industry Commission meetings. It is not on that link. That's the link that it was on at the last meeting that we had. So they changed the link, but so the public, where they used to go, be able to go, it's not there, but it's at a separate link.
And there's no requirement that it be on a specific link or not. I agree that it's probably a good idea, in the interest of transparency, to have it where it used to be or on the commission's website. But as long as you're complying with what the notice to the public said, that it's going to be at a particular website, that should be sufficient.
And I'm looking, I mean, it's on the CID homepage, and I'm looking at it right now. So you don't even have to click a link in on the CID page, it's on the homepage. But it is, I guess I have one question for you, Luis. Is the public hearing considered a commission meeting?
No, because it's only one presiding official, so it's not a,
So
it's
it's
not
not necessarily be on the commission meeting page. I mean, if it's been there before, maybe it should have been.
It's not a meeting of the commission, but it's subject to the notice requirements under the Uniform Licensing Act. So I will make sure that all of those requirements have been followed. And they have been in the past, so as long as we're doing what we've been doing, there shouldn't be a problem. But I will verify that everything that we are required to publish has occurred so that the hearing can go forward. And if they haven't, I will advise that it not go forward.
Well, I mean, I do know it's been on the CID homepage for a while.
Well, the system's not registered.
JT, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I have made sure every day for since the last commission meeting, in our response to our filing requirements, because these are the codes I'm trying to adopt, I've made sure they've been posted for at least the last 30 days from the posting date. And they are on our front page because we had people complaining that they were hard to find in that link. So that was the reason for putting them right on the front page of the CID website. Thank you.
I have the screenshot that I took this morning, the page that it was at the last time. So should I submit my comments to the reporter?
I don't know that would be necessary. I guess can we take this under advisement and come up with a solution?
There's no problem receiving the comments.
Okay. Would
Okay,
you like
so
us to receive your comments?
So it's conditional that whether you're going to consider putting them in the minutes or not, I'm
Only
guessing.
if you want us to.
Consider, I certainly would like for you to consider.
I don't think that we want to take the comments in. I think, can she submit the comments?
Well, the problem is if you take it in, I mean, there's no problem with submitting it. The thing I would caution you is if you're going to take it under advisement, it's going to become a public record and subject to any request to inspect. So if you do that, I just ask that appropriate provisions be made so that if there is a request that transpires, that we can promptly fulfill that request.
Maybe we don't want to take those up.
Well, I would have a question. That is, in your public comments, you started speaking about your case. Are they in what you want to turn in right there?
Yeah, you can edit, if you need to edit out.
I would say no.
Because the problem is if they are and you turn them in and we have to send them out as an IPA request, then the facts of your case are out.
I'll scratch it out. I'll scratch it out.
That'd be my
So
concern.
Yeah, I don't think that we want to reflect anything in there that's pertinent to a separate case. If
Okay.
you had comments addressing your concerns about public notification and any meetings, I would certainly think that would be permissible to this commission. But anything above and beyond that could discredit your case, we wouldn't want to take and utilize that.
I'll scratch that out then. And so my understanding is if I scratch out anything related to my case, that you'll accept this to consider for public comment?
I think we'd want to have your comments about, and I apologize for being a little bit late here, so I'm trying to get caught up on what occurred. But I think we want to resubmit something addressing the hearing information being publicized. That should be done separately and not scratched out that way. There we can.
Okay, so I can submit it after this meeting is over with then?
If you'd like to type something up.
And where can I send, where should I email it?
You can send that to me.
Okay, all right, and that's okay to consider, because I got a letter yesterday that said if you don't submit the comments at that particular time during the meeting, then you can't submit them. So that's not correct, I guess.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, well, I was told that by RLD, but that's good. So I'll go ahead and submit this then with the edited out. Thank you very much.
And keep in mind, you're welcome to all our meetings. They're open.
Pardon me?
You're welcome to all of our meetings. They're open.
Right, I just like it documented in the minutes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
In response to her comment about putting the director's report in the minutes,
director's report that shouldn't go in the minutes? I mean, you're just giving us a status update of everything. There's no actions that we take. I mean, it's kind of a report of what's transpired between the last meeting and this meeting. I sure don't see any problem making these part of the record and submitting these minutes and
Well,
accepting.
I think in the past, it was just an update on what was going on, and we didn't see that as being something that needed to be introduced into the minutes, because it was the director's, update to us at that point in time. Now, that's something that we should.
It's certainly something the commission could, and that's how we had been doing it. There had been problems, though. We had moved to just making it an exhibit to the minutes. But when CID staff posted those minutes to the website, they neglected to include the hearing off the director's report, which created its own set of problems. I think that, as I said, you could certainly choose to. There's nothing in there that I find to be particularly sensitive. There's no question in my mind that it's a public record and would be subject to inspection if there was such a request for the record. However, I think it's probably a good idea to keep some separation between the commission and the division. So if there is some decision or there is some legal authority to withhold disclosing that record pursuant to an IPRA request, that decision rests solely with the division and isn't construed to be a decision of the commission.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Decker, the reason that the director's reports are not part of the minutes is just following the direction of the Attorney General's office, in that this is just an oral presentation giving you information. It's not part of the minutes or anything that needs to be acted upon. There's certainly not anything in there that's not transparent, and the public can certainly receive these, keeping that separation through an IPRA request, and that's what's being done and has been done recently. And they're available through an IPRA request, but they're really not and should not be, in my personal opinion, part of the minutes, because they're not anything that needs to be acted upon. Again, that's coming as direction from the Attorney General's office, and Mr. Krokowski could comment on that.
And he's correct. I think that goes to what I was saying before. The minutes have to include a description of the action that this body takes. You're not taking action when you receive any director's report. You're simply receiving an information update. And you take no action, you take no vote to approve it, you do nothing. It's simply an informational, a receipt of information that I think in the draft minutes that you receive, we accurately reflect that you received the director's report. Again, as I said, it's up to the commission to decide what they want in their minutes, and they can certainly go in above what the open meetings requires if they want to do that in an effort to be as transparent as possible. I certainly think the spirit of the Open Meetings Act would support that, and there's nothing sensitive in the director's report, so I would, it's in essence the commission's call whether to include it or not. We could go back to the practice of including it as an attachment to the minutes, so long as we can make sure that whenever those do get posted to the website that they are indeed attached, or we can continue the practice that we're doing now, and you would of simply indicating in the minutes that the report was received, and that would comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements as well.
Mr. Chairman, Jack Millard, New Mexico Home Builder. There is a second issue, which is the IPRA request, which we routinely do.
Sure, which?
The request when we turn in a request for information on the meeting. The director's report does contain information that's important to the industry, like how many inspector vacancies we have, how many inspections have been made, how many permits. And so we do use that for reporting to the industry on what's going on. So I know that's a different subject than actually the minutes, but it would be helpful if when we turn in those requests, we still can get the director's report. I take notes, but I feel much more comfortable publishing it if I get a copy of that report when we do the IPRA request. So just another facet of this, which I think, in a lot of this, and I've talked to the legislator, that he's actually my legislator, he's concerned with transparency. And so I think you have to keep the spirit and intent of transparency in mind, as well as maybe the legal aspects of it. So I would just encourage you to look at that aspect too.
Again, I don't think there would be any problem, and I think it certainly would support the spirit of transparency of the to include them. But there is no doubt that if there is a request to inspect that record, that should be provided immediately or as soon as practical, as the Inspection of Public Records Act provides, but that would be the responsibility of RLD, and so keeping the separation, make sure that the responsible entity to responding to those requests are the ones that it's going to.
Yeah, I personally, the more transparency the better. I think the more information that's out there, the better. I think the last thing we want to do is be working in a closed setting where it's not out there. So I have no problem personally with the director's report and/or public comment, as long as, I think we need to be careful what's said at public comment about cases that we, but other than that. And
I would draw the Commission's attention to that. There was a period where, in a recent case that we dealt with regarding a disciplinary matter, that was an issue that presented itself. There was an over-disclosure of information during the public comment period that was ultimately included in the Commission's minutes, and which prompted those respondents to say the Commission had been tainted by facts extraneous to the disciplinary hearing process, and therefore disqualified every member of the Commission from participating in that decision. Fortunately, we were able to resolve that in another fashion, but that's one of the concerns for not including public comment in the minutes, so that you don't have that potential to receive information or have a record of receiving information extraneous to the process that's called for under the Uniform Licensing Act.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Kevin. I think transparency is good. I don't see anything in this that we wouldn't want to know or share with the public, or as our duty on this board, wouldn't want to say that you're doing your job and you understand what the issues and the problems are. I do think, though, like we've got this script for going into a closed session, maybe there's a script that should be read prior to the public comment being taken that just says, please don't do certain things in your public comments because you could prejudice your case and you could hurt yourself unknowingly. Okay, I mean, people who do come here, that don't come here on a regular basis with all good intentions, might say things that.
And there is a disclaimer on the agenda asking people to refrain from doing that.
Okay, so maybe that's just like the Closed Meetings Act, say we're going to accept public comment, please keep it here, don't go there, or you could do this to yourself unknowingly or something like that. I'm sure the attorneys can figure out a way to say that that would make sense. But I agree with Kevin. I think there's nothing in here that I see that we wouldn't want the public to know and be aware of. And actually, we need the public support in a lot of areas, particularly where we don't have enough inspectors, and where we need to go to the legislature and ask for additional revenues to support our industry undertaking. So that's just my opinion.
Does that sound good?
Thank you very much.
Well, let's see.
So what do we decide? There's a lot of
Well,
content.
you haven't decided anything yet. There's an
Decided
agenda
anything.
meeting.
I think that's something we should address.
I mean, I believe in the past, they used to make the director's report available at the meetings. The people who come to the meetings should actually pick them up at the meeting. And so, I mean, at that point, it was public. So I don't see any problem. I mean, I think that, I see no problem why this should be on CAD's website. Everyone can access it without having to do different for the minutes. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, this is general information on how the division runs. They ought to be proud of it, for one thing, for the good things they do, and the things they're a problem with. If it's out there, you know, people can help us get it fixed. And
Director, do you have any?
No, that's fine. We certainly do that. We could include it on the website as a, let's say, director's report. I mean, whatever.
I think in the interest of the commission, as well as the state we're representing, that we always want to keep a transparent system going through there. Although sometimes, as you can hear, the complexities occur from being too transparent. I don't think it can be too transparent. But, you know, making sure that we're doing taking all the legal precautions and so forth, so that a case like yours doesn't get tainted because of coming forth with information. We do that.
Yes, and I would also like to add, in the complaints, I've asked in several different times through IFRA to get the report that supports the complaints, and I'm not able to get it. Although another person requested it, the exact same verbiage, and he got a report which doesn't match the numbers. And I don't know what that report is, but we're not able to get the report that supports the complaints so that we can look at these complaints and try to see if there's any patterns or if there's issues that can help a citizen who's also been a victim to support what's going on.
Well, that's why.
So we'd like to see the report that supports those complaints too.
That's why we're here. If it was a perfect system, they wouldn't need us, correct?
So that's why I'm here too, to make it perfect.
And we appreciate that. So we're trying our best to make sure that the system works well.
One thing I would like to ask, and I think there's certainly good grounds for the direction it looks like the commission is taking with regards to the minutes. I would ask that the public comment, the commission think about if they're going to include public comment in the minutes, that it not be a verbatim recitation of the public comment. It can be a synopsis. And so if that's the direction the commission wants to take, I would ask for CID's staff's help to make sure that we're not just simply putting everything in there, because there might be facts about it pending disciplinary case. Exercising some discretion about summarizing what the substance of the commentary was and putting that in the draft minutes that come to you for ultimate approval. I don't think having a verbatim recitation of those facts is helpful for the reasons that we've already identified too, but it also can serve to obfuscate the purpose of minutes. The minutes are to inform the public about what the commission is doing, and if you have excessively long minutes, if you start having 80-page minutes, people are not going to be able to go and quickly find the information they're looking for. So if we're going to do this, like I say, I ask for CID's help to edit and help make a very concise summary of public commentary. And for the director's report, we could simply just do what we have been doing before, say, director's report was received, it's attached as an exhibit here too, and ask for CID's help that when we post those minutes to the website, that they ensure that there is a copy of the director's report attached to the minutes or available somewhere, and that's reflected in the minutes somewhere.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment regarding that request. First of all, we don't have the personnel to go through public comments and edit those and restrict those, and as soon as we start doing that, we're going to leave something out, and it's just going to create more issues with the person that gave the public comments in the public meeting. So if you're going to include those as well as my report, I suggest you do it as an exhibit, a separate exhibit to the minutes. But I really do not support CID personnel to edit someone's public comments and then put those into the minutes. I think that's asking for more trouble.
And I'd second that as a citizen.
And that's one of the reasons why we chose not to put them in the public comment, because where are the resources to be able to do that? Either you don't do them at all, or you attach them in as an exhibit, and that comes loaded with all of the problems of what if there's an over-disclosure, what if there's some things the commission doesn't want to associate itself with or make a part of its official record.
In the spirit of transparency, I think including it as an exhibit, and if there is anything that is going to cause a conflict, just laugh it out. If it has anything to do with a case, just laugh it out. Just like they do with redacted information when you're getting it for legal purposes. Just redact it.
And that carries with it a burden as well, so you can see why the decision was to just make it as simple as possible, comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, and not include that in the minutes.
Yeah, because, I mean, to your comment, it's funny because whenever you see on the news where the news gets something from the cops and it's all redacted, all of a sudden it's created a big conspiracy because they redacted all this. And so, you know, I'd like to avoid having that. But I agree with the director. It's very hard to have someone edit or even black out comments and not have the person who made the comments come back and say, why are you trying to hide my comments? And so it creates a real big issue as to what we do. And I'm not sure where to go with it. I mean, I think it's important that people hear public comments, but at the same time, it's very difficult for us to do and not create a lot of problems. And so I don't know.
Commissioner,
I'm wondering if maybe our directions on public comment could be, you want your public comment in the minutes, you have to submit it in writing. If you don't, if you just want it to be something we hear and you stand up and say it, then it's not in the minutes.
Well, I would encourage the commission then, if that's the direction they want to take, to consider putting some sort of policy or procedure on the agenda for the next minute to establish those parameters.
That was going to be part of my question, Jim. You indicated there was some privileged, attorney-client privileged information that was exchanged that helped us arrive at the decision. Not all of us are privy to that. How would we go about adding this whole discussion as an agenda item where we could have that privilege, receive that privileged information to help us make a better, more informed decision?
We couldn't do that, and there's no exception to the Open Meetings Act to allow for attorney-client privilege communications absent some pending or threatened litigation. About that, what we could do is your counsel could send you some sort of written correspondence that's subject to the attorney-client privilege. I would remind you too that the privilege belongs to the commission, so the commission could elect to waive that privilege and have those discussions out in a public meeting as well.
Can't decide to wait until we see it. So, would it be prudent then to add this discussion as an agenda item for the next meeting?
Board would certainly do that.
Receive that privilege communication, then we can make our decision on whether or not we want to waive that privilege or not, and resolve this issue, because it is a large issue that needs to be addressed. I think we all see that. So.
Certainly, that's absolutely something that the commission could do.
That would require a motion today.
Nope, we just put it, make sure it gets on the agenda for next meeting.
I personally would like to see that happen. So. Put that on the agenda for next meeting?
Awesome.
For 2 minutes to 35 right now.
Remember that, we're going to use that against you the rest of the year, your 2 minutes.
Okay.
It's cumulative.
It probably won't be the first thing you use against me, so that's okay.
Unrelated? Okay. Are there any other public comments pertaining to this or any other items at this point in time? If not, we'll proceed. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
So now we take finish public comment. Director's report, the infamous problem child of today's discussion.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Director, did you get afraid of Mr. Baker? You came before that. Just wondering.
I don't think it was me.
Chairman Baker, members of the Construction Industries Commission, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to give you an update. I did receive and accept a letter of resignation from Mr. Justin Wolf, Deputy Director of CID MHD, Monday, January the 5th. His last day of employment was Friday, January the 9th. CID MHD is gearing up for the 2015 legislative session. We're already responding to FIR's fiscal impact reports on what a particular proposed piece of legislation might change in regards more specifically to budget than anything else, or action. So we have a team that looks at these bills that are proposed to be submitted, and we provide written comment to the legislators for that, so they can see the ramifications and unintended consequences perhaps of some of the bills being introduced. It's a 60-day session, so we'll be busy doing that as well as our normal day-to-day operations. As far as personnel goes, we are continuing to look at our vacancy rate. We've made really great strides in that. We're still hovering around the 13% vacancy rate, but when we started, we were in the 20s, 18 to 20%. The need we have now is for 2 more electrical inspectors. We're looking at getting an attorney for CID, and we're also looking for 2 LP gas inspectors. Not sure our budget will allow us to fill all those positions at this time, and so we're in the process of looking at the budget and making projections of what funding would be available not only for this year but for 2016 and on if these additional personnel were added. They are needed. We were able to hire within the agency a new LP Gas chief inspector, but that just vacated the inspection position that person vacated, so we still have the need for 2 LP Gas inspectors. The call center has been very busy, as always. We had in November 5,451 incoming calls, emails, outgoing calls, and voicemails. In December, we had about 5,800, 5,817. This is pretty consistent with what we've done in previous months to date. So they're staying very busy, but certainly scheduling inspections and those kind of things. Regarding the plans and permitting, in November, we had a total plans reviewed was 421. 110 of those were commercial. 215 of those were residential. EPRs, electronic plan reviews, we had 96 of those in November, and 4 of those were for public schools. In December, we had 311 plans reviewed. 108 were commercial, 158 were residential. 104 EPR plans reviewed. That's an increase over what we've seen previously, and 10 of those were public schools.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
What's the percentages of plan review between Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Cruces, I guess, is the main offices? I mean, where's most of the plans reviewed? Albuquerque.
Yeah, Rick can answer that. Our plan review manager.
It would be Albuquerque. Half, 50%, 60%? 60% or better in Albuquerque. Just curious.
The third page there on the report shows graphically what I just said verbally. You can see that total plans submitted has declined November, December, and that's not unusual for the December month. So with the holidays and the weather, typically the lack of plans and inspections going down a little bit. You can also see though that the commercial projects increased from November to December, whereas the residential and other facts pretty much stayed the same.